If it wasn't for the Most High who was on my side, man, ain't no telling where I'd be.
Mr. Wilson would've known.
Can't nobody tell me nothing different. The Father's been good to me.
So good to me.
Yeah. Wave your hands if you feel me. I'm a witness. Yahweh's been good to me.
So good to me.
Every morning that I rise, I thank Yahweh that I'm living. Keep my enemies at bay and never leave without my fringes. 1611 with me cause I'm on a mission. Talking sheep, I pay the cost, me and my lines really live it. I don't need no glory, you don't have to know my story. Glad I made it out this world cause this world was never for me. I thought that I was. If it wasn't for the Most High who was on my side, man, ain't no telling where I'd be.
Mr. Wilson would've known.
Can't nobody tell me nothing different. The Father's been good to me.
So good to me.
Yeah. Wave your hands if you feel me. I'm a witness. Yahweh's been good to me.
So good to me.
Every morning that I rise, I thank Yahweh that I'm living. Keep my enemies at bay and never leave without my fringes. 1611 with me cause I'm on a mission. Talking sheep, I pay the cost, me and my lines really live it. I don't need no glory, you don't have to know my story. Glad I made it out this world cause this world was never for me. I thought that I was. If it wasn't for the Most High who was on my side, man, ain't no telling where I'd be.
Mr. Wilson would've known.
Can't nobody tell me nothing different. The Father's been good to me.
So good to me.
Yeah. Wave your hands if you feel me. I'm a witness. Yahweh's been good to me.
So good to me.
Every morning that I rise, I thank Yahweh that I'm living. Keep my enemies at bay and never leave without my fringes. 1611 with me cause I'm on a mission. Talking sheep, I pay the cost, me and my lines really live it. I don't need no glory, you don't have to know my story. Glad I made it out this world cause this world was never for me. I thought that I was. If it wasn't for the Most High who was on my side, man, ain't no telling where I'd be.
Mr. Wilson would've known.
Can't nobody tell me nothing different. The Father's been good to me.
So good to me.
Yeah. Wave your hands if you feel me. I'm a witness. Yahweh's been good to me.
So good to me.
Every morning that I rise, I thank Yahweh that I'm living. Keep my enemies at bay and never leave without my fringes. 1611 with me cause I'm on a mission. Talking sheep, I pay the cost, me and my lines really live it. I don't need no glory, you don't have to know my story. Glad I made it out this world cause this world was never for me. I thought that I was. If it wasn't for the Most High who was on my side, man, ain't no telling where I'd be.
Mr. Wilson would've known.
Can't nobody tell me nothing different. The Father's been good to me.
So good to me.
Yeah. Wave your hands if you feel me. I'm a witness. Yahweh's been good to me.
So good to me.
Every morning that I rise, I thank Yahweh that I'm living. Keep my enemies at bay and never leave without my fringes. 1611 with me cause I'm on a mission. Talking sheep, I pay the cost, me and my lines really live it. I don't need no glory, you don't have to know my story. Glad I made it out this world cause this world was never for me. I thought that I was. If it wasn't for the Most High who was on my side, man, ain't no telling where I'd be.
Mr. Wilson would've known.
Can't nobody tell me nothing different. The Father's been good to me.
So good to me.
Yeah. Wave your hands if you feel me. I'm a witness. Yahweh's been good to me.
So good to me.
Every morning that I rise, I thank Yahweh that I'm living. Keep my enemies at bay and never leave without my fringes. 1611 with me cause I'm on a mission. Talking sheep, I pay the cost, me and my lines really live it. I don't need no glory, you don't have to know my story. Glad I made it out this world cause this world was never for me. I thought that I was. If it wasn't for the Most High who was on my side, man, ain't no telling where I'd be.
Mr. Wilson would've known.
Can't nobody tell me nothing different. The Father's been good to me.
So good to me.
Yeah. Wave your hands if you feel me. I'm a witness. Yahweh's been good to me.
So good to me.
Every morning that I rise, I thank thank Yahweh that I'm living. Keep my enemies at bay and never leave without my fringes. 1611 with me cause I'm on a mission. Talking sheep, I pay the cost, me and my lines really live it. I don't need no glory, you don't have to know my story. Glad I made it out this world, cause this world was never for me. I thought that I was. If it wasn't for the Most High who was on my side, man, ain't no telling where I'd be.
Mr. Wilson with a known.
Can't nobody tell me nothing different. The Father's been good to me.
So good to me.
Yeah. Wave your hands if you feel me. I'm a witness. Yahweh's been good to me.
So good to me.
Every morning that I rise, I thank Yahweh that I'm living. Keep my enemies at bay and never leave without my fringes.
All praises. Shalom, shalom, Israel. Welcome back to another edition of World History. Tonight, we are going to be going over Joshua, the Son of Nun, Part 2. So, we're going to pick it up right where we left off at Joshua chapter 10. Quick recap. So far, Moses has passed away. Joshua has been given the authority over Israel. And we are still reading about a lot of the battles, as well as the allocation of the land of what they have already conquered. So we're going to start off on Joshua chapter 10, and we're going to read verse 1 through 14. Then we're going to drop down to get 22 through 25. It says, "Now it came to pass when Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem, had heard that Joshua had taken Ai and had utterly destroyed it, as he had done to Jericho and her king, so he had done to Ai and her king, and how the inhabitants of Gibeon had made peace with Israel and were among them, that they feared greatly, because Gibeon was a great city, as one of the royal cities, and because it was greater than Ai, and all the men thereof were mighty. Wherefore Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem, sent unto Hoham, king of Hebron, and unto Param, king of Jarmuth, and unto Japhiah, king of Lachish, and unto Debir, king of Eglon, saying, Come up unto me, and help me, that we may smite Gibeon, for it hath made peace with Joshua and with the children of Israel. Therefore the 5 kings of the Amorites, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, the king of Eglon, gathered themselves together and went up, they and all their hosts, and encamped before Gibeon and made war against it. And the men of Gibeon sent unto Joshua to the camp of Gilgal, saying, Slack not thy hand from thy servants. Come up to us quickly and save us and help us. For all the kings of the Amorites that dwell in the mountains are gathered together against us. So Joshua ascended from Gilgal, he and all the people of war with him, and all the mighty men of valor. And the Lord said unto Joshua, Fear them not, for I have delivered them into thine hand. There shall not a man of them stand before thee. So at this point, all right, so Salakia. So we read before how there were people of Hebron that disguised themselves, right? They put on old-looking garments, got old food, busted up bottles of wine, and they disguised themselves saying that they had come from a country so far away that it had taken them so long just to find the children of Israel that their clothes were messed up and their food was old and their bottles of wine were busted. And they disguised themselves so that they could make Israel swear an oath by them that they wouldn't be destroyed. And so, without consulting the Lord, they have already done that. So now that they've made peace with the children of Israel, the other nations are saying, okay, well then, they're enemies too. Now we have to stop the Israelites and the city of Hebron. So they try to march on Hebron first, and Hebron calls upon Joshua, and Joshua comes to defend the city. Right? It says, oh, and the Lord, again, is giving Joshua these confirmations. You know, he's telling Joshua, literally giving them advice before they engage in a battle. Yes, go up, do this. I'm going to destroy them before you. Or no, don't do that. Or, you know, this is the issue why, you know. It says, and Joshua came unto them suddenly and went up from Gilgal all night. And the Lord discomfited them before Israel and slew them with a great slaughter at Gibeon and chased them along the way that goeth up to Beth-horon and smote them to Azekah and unto Makkedah. And it came to pass, as they fled from before Israel and were in the going down to Beth-horon, that the Lord cast down great stones from heaven upon them unto Azekah, and they died. There were more which died with hailstones than they whom the children of Israel slew with the sword. So again, I always see, you know, or it just makes me flash back to the children of Israel, the generation before Joshua, that were in the wilderness, frustrated, confused, murmuring against the Lord because of their enemies. And look how the Lord was fighting for Israel. They went up to battle. You had all these cities and I guess countries that were nearby each other clicking up to try and come against Israel. And they are already cautious. They're trying to launch a preemptive strike. And Israel had to fight, but you always see the Lord being present in every single fight. From the beginning of this is what you're up against, go look at it, to I'm going to deliver them in your hand, don't trip, to even being present in the actual combat. And it always makes me think, man, had our forefathers just been obedient and just been faithful, that would have been possible. So as much as this is history, these are just examples time and time and time again, how if we stay right with the Lord, and if us as a nation were to accept righteousness, look how powerful of a nation that we are when the Most High is with us. Look how much our God is willing to fight for us. In so much that the men of war, being men of war, are looking at, you know, they probably look at themselves and the men that are around them and say, okay, we going into battle. Whole time, the Lord killed more men than they did with his own weapons. He was launching meteors while the battle was going on, hitting them like a sniper. And all these men are getting dropped more from the Lord than from men. It says, and look at this. Then spake Joshua to the Lord in the day when the Lord delivered up the Amorites before the children of Israel. And he said in the sight of Israel, Sun, stand thou still upon Gibeon, and thou moon in the valley of Ahalan. Oh. Salakia, we know the Salaki, give us 1 second, Israel. But I think y'all can still, well, you guys, I know you guys can still hear me. So during this battle that was going on, is all praises. So while they were chasing their enemies, Joshua says, and mind you, he says it in the presence of all Israel. So I think it was kind of like a solid that the Lord was like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do that because everybody looking at you. But he literally commanded that the sun stand still, and it did. It says, and the sun stood still, and the moon stayed until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies. Is not this written in the book of Jasher? So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven and hasted not to go down about a whole day. And there was no day like that before it or after it, that the Lord hearkened unto the voice of a man, for the Lord fought for Israel. So we know, this book of Jasher has been lost. This is not the book of Jasher that you can go and find. Scholars have viewed that and deemed it non-canonical, meaning that it has inaccuracies in accordance to what has been consistent in Scripture, right? And so a lot of times you'll find that, books like that in what's called the pseudo-epigraphal books, which were given either names or aliases or are credited to certain writers so that they will be accepted, but there's no proof that, that's the actual record. So, but that just goes to show you, we had a lot of books in our history that were recorded where people could go and refer back to the history and the events that actually took place, right? And we still do today. But the day that the sun stood still, the day was about double. And it said there wasn't a day like that or after where the Lord listened to a man. Because again, he did that because he heard Joshua and was like, okay, let me go ahead and do that for you. But he was like, I ain't doing that. Ain't going to be no more of those. Dropping down to verse 22. Then said Joshua, open the mouth of the cave and bring out those 5 kings unto me out of the cave. So after they had hunted down all the men that were men of war out of those cities, then they found the kings holed up in a cave trying to escape, right? The kings that had essentially clicked up earlier to come against Israel. It says, and they did so, and brought forth those 5 kings unto him out of the cave, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, and the king of Eglon. And it came to pass when they brought out those kings unto Joshua, that Joshua called all the men of Israel, Shalom, and said unto the captains of the men of war which went with him, come near, put your feet upon the necks of these kings. And they came near and put their feet upon the necks of them. So we have a saying now, right? Keep your foot on their neck. This is not random. This is what Joshua told the men of Israel that were with him. Hey, y'all come over here. These are men that just before this were not only feared and admired and powerful, extravagantly rich. These were men that were enemies to us, that would have probably put fear into a lot of people. Like, oh, man, we got to go to these cities. Oh, man, we got to, our people were faithful, but it's natural to look at certain stuff and be like, man. But they had confidence in the Lord. And so Joshua was telling them, don't be afraid of these dudes. Don't ever question what the Lord is bringing us into this land to do. Matter of fact, come up here. You see this powerful man, this man that was once a king and had hundreds of thousands of people under his authority and under his rule, where he could snap his fingers and make something happen, or, have somebody put to death or whatever. This man, put your foot on his neck. The Lord is going to bring all of our enemies under subjection like this. The Lord is going to fight all of our battles like this. Who are these men? Who are these kings? That ain't the king of Jerusalem. It said, and Joshua said unto them, fear not, nor be dismayed. Be strong and of good courage. For thus shall the Lord do to all your enemies against whom ye fight. Look at that. Then after that, he killed them and hung their bodies. Let's jump over to Joshua chapter 11. We're going to start at 12 through 13. Then we're going to drop down to 19 verses 19 through 23. Yeah, starting at verse 12. It says, and all the cities of those kings and all the kings of them did Joshua take and smote them with the edge of the sword, and he utterly destroyed them, as Moses the servant of the Lord commanded. But as for the cities that stood still in their strength, Israel burned none of them, save Hazor only, that did Joshua burn. And verse 14. And all the spoil of these cities and the cattle the children of Israel took for a prey unto themselves. But every man they smote with the edge of the sword until they had destroyed them, neither left they any to breathe. So imagine that, right? They have not only destroyed these cities. When we talk about destroying, there's law/advice. There's wisdom given in the scriptures that talks about when you conquer land, because there's a way to do everything, right? As a general, as a general/leader of Israel, you don't just wear one hat. There's so many things that are included and indicative of that role. So we have it in the scriptures where if you take a new land, don't chop down all the trees, because they have a function, right? Some of them are for food, some of them are for building, but if you just go and chop down everything as soon as you get there, you're not going to give yourself a chance to actually allocate resources before you've just cleared and destroyed the land. The same thing with the cities. Most of the cities that were established, they were left standing. So when the children of Israel went to battle, after we cleared out our enemies, it was like, okay, cool. It's ready to move in. Turnkey homes, freshly vacated. Oh, you gotta wipe the blood off the walls. But then you have a brand new house, a fortified city. It's already established. We don't have to worry about building the infrastructure. We don't have to worry about building roads. We don't have to worry about building chariots out of wood just to be able to transport goods from day to day. All that stuff is already here. So why would we destroy everything that's already been built up when all we have to do is vacate the residence and we can move in? Imagine that. So the days that they would win these battles, and of course you got to deal with the aftermath of war. You got to deal with all those bodies and, the smells and things like that. But within, what would you say, 2 weeks, they was moving their families in, and they were established in the land. That was it. They had rest from the wars that we were fighting. Let's drop down to verse 19. Imagine that, right? Jake come back from battle. How was battle? Oh my gosh, I'm happy to see you. Like, baby, you're not gonna believe this. I found it's a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom. It got a outdoor fountain. It got a pool. Man, you gonna love this. Yeah, I slew this Canaanite back here on this other road. That's gonna be our house. All the men on my squad agreed that I deserved this one, and it was and you get to just move in. I'm telling you, beautiful times. Verse 19. There was a city. Verse 18. Joshua made war a long time with all those kings. There was not a city that made peace with the children of Israel, save the Hivites, the inhabitants of Gibeon. All others they took in battle. For it was, and here's another just fascinating fact, right? So the Hivites, the inhabitants of Gibeon, they made peace. They were the only nation out of all the nations that had the wherewithal and the common sense to say, look, we going up against the people and the God that destroyed Egypt about 40 years ago, and we know about the children of Israel been out in the wilderness all this time. Now they're come here. They were the only ones that said, look, it ain't no way we can stand against this. Let's go ahead and give in. But there was a reason. It said, starting at the top of 19, there was not a city that made peace with the children of Israel, save the Hivites, the inhabitants of Gibeon. All other they took in battle. For it was of the Lord to harden their hearts, that they should come against Israel in battle, that he might destroy them utterly, and that they might have no favor, but that he might destroy them as the Lord commanded Moses. He put it in the hearts and in the spirits to change the mind. They were already, it said plenty of times in the scriptures, their hearts melted with fear. They were afraid. They were so afraid their hearts melted with fear. the Lord would give them a sense of courage, give them a sense of strength, just so that he could destroy them. That's like Jake's today, where somebody you get, people have been in them situations. Maybe you was even one of them people in situations where Jake get mad and he be like, "All right, wait right there, wait right there. I'll be right back." You know when he come back, he doing damage. Just wait right there, cause basically what he telling you is, I'm finna go get what I need to go get, but I want to catch you when I come back. Just wait right there, and I'm hoping you gonna be there, cause I know I'm finna tear stuff up. The way that the attributes that we have, these come from our God. The weight right there itself came from our God, and he put it in the minds of our enemies, because he said, I don't want to have to chase them down and go from city to city, stronghold to stronghold. I'm going to change their minds internally, make a few tweaks and alterations to their psyche, and make them wait so that I can get them all in one sweep. I'm not trying to come through here 10 times. I'm not trying to chase y'all down. And he said, man, I'm going to give you courage just so that I can destroy you. Man, the original, wait right there. The original, stay right there. I'll be right back. And the Most High came and was destroying them cities. Then we was moving in. Chapter 12 is all, these are records, locations, land. This is it's still valuable information, but it can be read on your own time. Let's jump over to chapter 13, and we're going to get 2 verses from this, 12 through 14. It says, all the kingdom of Og and Bashan, which reigned in Ashtaroth and in Edrei, who remained of the remnant of the giants, for these did Moses smite and cast them out. Nevertheless, the children of Israel expelled not the Girgashites, nor the Maacathites, but the Girgashites and the Maacathites dwell among the children of Israel unto this day. So, in verse 14, only unto the tribe of Levi he gave none inheritance. The sacrifices of the Lord God of Israel made by fire are their inheritance, as he said unto them. That's just going to be foundational, right? When I was reading this, you read in this verse, it said Moses did this, right? Let's go over to, jump to chapter 14. We're going to get verse 3, and then we're going to get 7 through 15, just to make sense of all that. It said, for Moses, Joshua 14 and 3, for Moses had given the inheritance of the 2 tribes and an half tribe on the other side Jordan. But unto the Levites he gave none inheritance among them. Now, when you read this and you keep hearing about Moses, it's like, okay, well, was Moses there? Because this is Israel entering the promised land. Moses didn't enter the promised land. So how is these battles or instances being accredited to Moses? We actually see, through context clues, for 2 different reasons, Joshua was sometimes in Scripture referred to Moses. So they began to call Joshua Moses in Scripture, either because Joshua was fulfilling what Moses wrote that Israel would have. For example, the borders and boundaries of each tribe. And they would say Moses had given this to the children of Israel because it was defined. In the same way that they say the law of Moses. It's not actually the law that Moses came up with on his own, but these are what Moses is known for inscribing, right, and distributing. Same thing with the land. And then it also could have been an instance where it's like calling a son by his father's name. You little so-and-so. You got a different name, but you just like, your father. So he wasn't the son of Moses, no. But he was Moses' minister. And, he spent, 40 years with Moses. 40 years, helping deal with the children of Israel. 40 years being an aide and an assistant unto Moses. It's safe to say in 40 years, you're going to develop a father-son relationship. So dropping down to verse 7, and this is where you see that this is Joshua talking and not Moses, right? It says, 40 years old was I when Moses, the servant of the Lord, sent me from Kadesh Barnea to espy out the land. So in verse 3, we're talking about Moses. But then verse 7, someone is saying, I was 40 years old when Moses sent me. So we know that that's Joshua. It says, and I brought him word again as it was in mine heart. Nevertheless, my brethren that went up with me made the heart of the people melt. But I wholly followed the Lord my God. And Moses sware on that day, saying, surely the land whereon thy feet have trodden shall be thine inheritance, and thy children's forever, because thou hast wholly followed the Lord my God. And now behold, the Lord hath kept me alive, as he said, these 45 years, even since the Lord spake this word unto Moses, while the children of Israel wandered in the wilderness. And now, lo, I am this day 85 years old. So it wasn't even like Joshua was a young dude, doing all this stuff. He was already 45 when Moses sent, or 40. No, 45. He was 45 when Moses sent him into Israel just to spy the land out, him and the other 11 spies. And it was only, and he was one of the only ones, and I think maybe the only one that gave a good report about the land. He said the rest of these dudes, they made the people fear. They ended up giving an evil report, and because the people were relying on them, they felt like, well, if you saying it ain't no hope, then there must not be no hope, right? You've seen it more than I have, this, that, and the third. But this is clearly Joshua speaking. It says, as yet I am strong this day as I was in the day that Moses sent me. As my strength was then, even so is my strength now, for war, both to go out and to come in. Now therefore give me this mountain, whereof the Lord spake in that day. For thou heardest in that day how the Anakims were there, and that the cities were great and fenced. If so be the Lord will be with me, then I shall be able to drive them out, as the Lord had said. So Joshua, in the same way that the children of Israel, because we were preserved in the wilderness, it wasn't like, people's clothes was like the scriptures tell you, their clothes didn't wear, their shoes were fitting them fine. Like they were able to sustain. They were taken care of, right? There was obviously a lot of divine intervention in the wilderness because we had a cloud by day and a fire by night. It rained manna, and there were quail that came into the camp. So there were quite a few things that the Most High was orchestrating to preserve the children of Israel. Joshua didn't only have his clothes, he was also not getting older biologically. So even though he went from 45 years old to 85 years old, the Lord preserved him the same way he did the clothes of the children of Israel. He didn't wear out. He didn't start getting arthritis and a bad hip and a bad knee and, a clicking shoulder. Joshua was just as strong at 85 as he was at 45. And he said, I'm still able to go out and fight in these battles with Israel. That's another thing. Like, if he could do it we know that the Lord can do it. So why should we be afraid, or why should we be concerned? Our only concern should be, let me get righteous so that the Lord deems me worthy to do this for me. Because we know he's able to do it, because he's already done it time and time and time again. And we see these testimonies in the scriptures. Like, why even be concerned about, getting older and having these different things? Man, the Lord can preserve you if we do right. Let's drop down. Where are we at? Actually, Salaki, let's pick up chapter 14, verse 13. And we're going to read 13 through 15. And Joshua blessed him and gave unto Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, Hebron for an inheritance. And Caleb was the only other person that made it through the wilderness, right? It says, Hebron, therefore, became the inheritance of Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, and the Kenizzite unto this day, because that he wholly followed the Lord God of Israel. And the name of Hebron before was Kirjath Arba, which Arba was a great man among the Anakims, and the land had rest from war. So again, perfect example. the forefathers or the generation prior to the generation of Joshua, they feared the Anakims. They were concerned, oh, they're giants in the land, and they're up on a hill. So like it's one thing for there to be giants, it's another thing for them to have the strategic advantage of having high ground. What are we gonna do? And it was nothing for the Lord to smite that whole hill. It was nothing for the Lord for those giants to be defeated. And not only were they defeated, it wasn't like, oh, get out of there, children of Israel, I'm just going to drop an asteroid from space. No, they went up in battle. And then they were able to take and live in those cities. We were arriving to basically ready-made homes. That's like you seeing new construction, right? Maybe it's in your city. Maybe it's, somewhere far out. But you see new construction on the horizon. And as soon as it's done or once people are moving in, the Lord is like, okay, well, that over there and everywhere that you've been walking, it's going to be yours. Go and clear them people out. And then once you do, guess what? You have a brand new home. You have a brand new city to live in. You've got brand new resources. And we was taking the spoils from each one of these cities, right? That just goes to show there was a time and a place for everything. When Achan did it, they were specifically instructed, don't do it right now. Everything after that, the children of Israel were able to have wealth. It wasn't like they were just, moving into just these random plains and fields. They were moving into cities. They were getting resources from the city that was already there. They were taking livestock. All right, cool. We conquered a nice city on the countryside. I think that's where me and my family gonna move. I found a farm out there. We already got 300 heads of cattle. Boom. It was that simple. That simple for the Lord to give us those victories in war. Let's jump over to Joshua 15. Start at verse 13 and 14, and then we're going to get verse 63. It says, and unto Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, he gave a part among the children of Judah, according to the commandment of the Lord to Joshua, even the city of Arba, the father of Anak, which city is Hebron. And Caleb drove thence the 3 sons of Anak, Sheshai and Ahiman and Talmai, the children of Anak. Drop down to verse 63. So a lot of the rest of the chapter is genealogy. Again, for what's relevant, it would be good to read on your own time. 63, as for the Jebusites, the inhabitants of Jerusalem, the children of Judah could not drive them out. But the Jebusites dwell with the children of Judah at Jerusalem unto this day. That was another one of those things. Reading that, well, how do we make sense of that? I wanted to bring that out specifically because we're going to read another segment and then get a precept so that we can understand why that was happening. 2 precepts. 1 second. So I just wanted to get that precept. Joshua 15. We're already in 17. Let's get verse 12 through 18. 17 and 12. Yet the children of Manasseh could not drive out the inhabitants of those cities, but the Canaanites would dwell in the land. Yet it came to pass when the children of Israel were waxen strong that they put the Canaanites to tribute, but did not utterly drive them out. And the children of Joseph spake unto Joshua, saying, why hast thou given me but one lot and one portion to inherit, seeing I am a great people? For as much as the Lord hath blessed me hitherto. And Joshua answered them, if thou be a great people, then get thee up to the wood country, and cut down for thyself there in the land of the Perizzites and of the giants, and Mount Ephraim, if Ephraim be too narrow for thee. And the children of Joseph said, the hill is not enough for us, and all the Canaanites that dwell in the land of the valley have chariots of iron, both they who are of Beth Shean and her towns, and they who are of the valley of Jezreel. And Joshua spake unto the house of Joseph, even to Ephraim and to Manasseh, saying, Thou art a great people, and hast great power. Thou shalt not have one lot only, but the mountain shall be thine, for it is a wood, and thou shalt cut it down, and the outgoings of it shall be thine. For thou shalt drive out the Canaanites, though they have iron chariots, and though they be strong. So there were times, right? So we started off by reading at the top, there were nations that they couldn't drive out. And then we hear that there are nations where they had a lot more defenses and fortifications. He said it's a wood, meaning they're in like a woodlands area. So they have an element of forest, right? Because your terrain plays a role in your defense and in war. They're on top of a mountain, which is notoriously hard because you have, traversing up a mountain, getting all your equipment and everything up a mountain. But then you also more than likely have choke points because not all parts of a mountain are just easily climbable and accessible. But not only that, at the top, those that were there had chariots made of iron. So it wasn't like it was too difficult for the Lord, right? Because there were battles that were seemingly impossible that were easily won. So why were there nations that stayed within the land, nations that they could not drive out? Why were they still there? Let's flip over real fast to Deuteronomy 7 and 2. Because there's a reason. With the exclusion of the country, basically, that made peace with the children of Israel, this is why there would be times. Oops, Salakia, hold on 1 second. Hold on, I know I want 8 and 2. Salakia, hold on 1 second. Oh, I think that is what I'm looking for, 8 and 2. Hold on 1 second. Salakia, Israel. I don't know how I wrote. I'm looking for Exodus 23:29. Salakia, Exodus 23:29. Exodus 23 and verse 29. It says, I will not drive them out from before thee in 1 year, lest the land become desolate and the beasts of the field multiply against thee. By little and little I will drive them out from before thee until thou be increased and inherit the land. And I will set thy bounds from the Red Sea, even unto the sea of the Philistines, and from the desert unto the river. For I will deliver the inhabitants of the land into your hand, and thou shalt drive them out before thee. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor with their gods. So, it wouldn't have made sense, because mind you, when we think about, and I wish I had a map to put up, but you can look up the actual borders of the tribes of Israel. It wasn't like they was just taking one city. They were taking multiple countries. They were taking a huge amount of land, and it had to be progressive. So if you consider, the scriptures say there were 600,000 that walked out of Egypt, and I believe that's beside women and children. So if every man had 3 kids, that would be like 1.8 million people, right? And you divide them into 12, what is that, like 400,000, 420-something thousand? That's not a lot of people in a city that might have contained millions. Just to give some perspective. Because we here in LA County is huge. There are, just to give some perspective, right? So just to give the scenario, 600,000 men walk out of Egypt. If each one of those men had 3 kids, right? That's only like 1.8 million, a little less than 2 million people. If you divide that into 12 sections, that's not even 1 million people per section. That's not a lot of people per section. And if you're talking about an area even the size of LA, which is not a country, there's 9.7 million people in Los Angeles County right now. So let's just say if it was like LA, if you bring 2 million people into a space where 9 million used to be, by the time they have enough children and expand far enough to need those other parts of land, that land is going to be overrun. Think about the IE, think about the desert. It would be overrun if there was no one living out there. Rattlesnakes, coyotes, probably wolves and mountain lions, hawks, birds. You would just have wildlife teeming. So there were certain places where the Lord wouldn't allow them to fully drive out the inhabitants so that they could first increase and multiply. And so it's almost like putting your land on layaway. All right, for the time being, the Canaanites are going to dwell over there because we haven't even fully filled up our section. But if we chase them out, by the time we get there, that land is going to be, we're going to have another war on our hands. Now we got to fight against the wildlife. We got to drive all the animals and the snakes and the spiders, and it'll just be too much. So instead of losing all that inhabitable land, the Most High would just kind of slow their roll, so to speak, and wait until they were built up enough to go inherit it and live there themselves, and then they could keep the wildlife, the whatever is going to live out there and increase. They can keep the populace under control themselves. So there was a reason for that, right? Let's go back to Joshua. Joshua 18. And we're going to read, let's get verse 1 through 8. It says, "And the whole congregation of the children of Israel assembled together at Shiloh and set up the tabernacle of the congregation there, and the land was subdued before them. And there remained among the children of Israel 7 tribes which had not yet received their inheritance. And Joshua said unto the children of Israel, How long are ye slack to go possess the land, which the Lord God of your fathers hath given you? Give out from among you 3 men for each tribe, and I will send them, and they shall rise, and go through the land, and describe it according to the inheritance of them. And they shall come again to me. And they shall divide it into 7 parts. Judah shall abide in their coast on the south, and the house of Joseph shall abide in their coast on the north. Ye shall therefore describe the land into 7 parts, and bring the description hither to me, that I may cast lots for you here before the Lord. But the Levites have no part among you, for the priesthood of the Lord is their inheritance. And Gad and Reuben and half the tribe of Manasseh have received their inheritance beyond Jordan on the east, which Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave them. And the men arose and went away, and Joshua charged them that went to describe the land, saying, Go and walk through the land and describe it, and come again to me, that I may here cast lots for you before the Lord in Shiloh. So at this point, only 3 tribes actually had their land. They moved in and they were settled. And 7 tribes were still figuring it out. And so Joshua was like, okay, well, what's the holdup? What's the problem? They need to get organized, right? So again, that's another role of that leader. He's organizing the people. They probably would have settled in wherever was convenient, but he's like, no, there's a way this is supposed to happen. Send 21 men, 3 men from each tribe of the 7 tribes, and send them, have them describe everything that they see, every border and boundary, and when you come back, I'll see how the Lord wants to organize y'all, right? Let's get verse 9. And the men went and passed through the land and described it by cities into 7 parts in a book, and came again to Joshua to the host at Shiloh. And Joshua cast lots for them in Shiloh before the Lord, and there Joshua divided the land into the children of Israel according to their divisions. So let's jump over to chapter 19. Most of this chapter is how they cast lots and how the land was allocated. Let's get 47 through 51. It says, "And the coast of the children of Dan went out too little for them. Therefore the children of Dan went up to fight against Lashem and took it, and smote it with the edge of the sword, and possessed it, and dwelt therein, and called Lashem Dan, after the name of Dan their father. This is the inheritance of the tribe of Dan, according to their families, these cities with their villages. When they had made an end of dividing the land for inheritance by their coast, the children of Israel gave an inheritance to Joshua the son of Nun among them. According to the word of the Lord, they gave him the city which he asked, even Timnath Serah and Mount Ephraim. And he built the city and dwelt therein. These are the inheritances which Eleazar the priest and Joshua the son of Nun and the heads of the fathers of the tribes of the children of Israel divided for an inheritance by lot in Shiloh before the Lord, at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. So they made an end of dividing the country." One more. Now, let's see. Okay, almost done. So there were some tribes that were already plenteous enough to where the area that they were given wasn't enough. And so they were commanded, okay, that's perfectly fine. Expand. You know, that land over there or those people over there, go take that city too. That's yours. That's how the Lord was dealing with Israel. You want more? I'll give it to you. You need more? Oh, who need more? Go ahead. The city over there, don't worry about it. It's already won. The battle's taken care of. They were going to war for years. You know, Joshua is an old man and dies before all of this has fully taken place. It wasn't like, oh, you know, they did this all in a week. Remember, they're taking countries. We think of just one city. Okay, you know, even if you was to say, let me think of a notorious city. If you was to take LA, if you was to take Dallas, Texas, if you was to take Phoenix, Arizona, if you was to take Louisville, Kentucky, Burma, Alabama, if you took like some notable cities and it's being said you're about to go conquer that city, keep in mind that's one city in the state. So they was conquering city after city after city after city in these essentially city states where they had a lot of land to take, and it wasn't like they was, you know, going by way of horse. Well, I wouldn't even say horse. That's like more at that time. It wasn't like they was going by car. It ain't like, oh, okay, we got 80 miles to travel. Let's just go ahead and drive 80 miles for 1 hour. Like, nah, they had to travel to that land. They had to spy out that land. They had to be strategic in their approach, or they had to go question the Lord. Well, Lord, how would you have us to take this land? Oh, you know, is this one of the Jericho situations? Grab a trumpet? Are we going to go physically to war? Even the Lord told Joshua when he took the city of Ai how to set up an ambush. So it was a process. It was a beautiful process, but it was a time-consuming process, right? And starting at chapter 20 and verse 1, we're going to read this whole city. So, well, actually, I'll let the scripture speak and then. It says, "The Lord also spake unto Joshua, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, saying, Appoint out for you cities of refuge, whereof I spake unto you by the hand of Moses, that the slayer that killeth any person unawares and unwittingly may flee thither, and they shall be your judge from the avenger of blood. They shall be your refuge from the avenger of blood. And when he that doth flee unto one of those cities shall stand at the entering of the gate of the city, and shall declare his cause in the ears of the elder of that city, they shall take him into the city unto them, and give him a place that he may dwell among them. And if the avenger of blood pursue after him, then they shall not deliver the slayer up into his hand, because he smote his neighbor unwittingly, and hated him not before time. And he shall dwell in that city until he stand before the congregation for judgment, and unto the death of the high priest that shall be in those days. Then shall the slayer return and come unto his own city and unto his own house, unto the city from which he fled. And they appointed Kadesh in Galilee and Mount Naphtali, and Shechem and Mount Ephraim, and Kirjath Arba, which is Hebron, and the mountain of Judah. Let me see. Verse 9, these were the cities appointed for all the children of Israel, and for the stranger that sojourneth among them, that whosoever killeth any person at unawares might flee thither, and not die by the hand of the avenger of blood until he stood before the congregation. So that was another thing, right? And this was in the law. So a lot of the laws that, I'm not going to say a lot of the laws, but certain laws are applicable for certain times, right? For example, right? There's 3 that come to mind, including this one. Excuse me. You have a law that for the most part applies in wilderness and agriculture, where you cannot eat a mother bird and her eggs at the same time, right? So while you're in a city or in an established place, unless you have agriculture and you have poultry, that's not really a law that we're going to be thinking about all the time per se. There's a law that you have to have railing on your roof, right? So that when people were up on your roof, nobody could be having a good time or having a cup of wine or dance and slip and fall off your roof because you would be liable, right? But when you're in captivity and you're not building the houses, that isn't a law that we probably just are meditating on all the time or planning for per se, unless you plan on building a house. The same thing with the cities of refuge. While the children of Israel were in the wilderness, that wasn't something that they had to necessarily exercise, because what cities did they have? But that's another, aspect of rebuilding culture and community. Well, we have to get into the law and see, now that we're going into a new environment, what laws have to be applied into our building and into our cities and into our society now that we govern ourselves. There's a need to go back and revisit, right? Because this is a command. It's such an amazing and delicate place that the children of Israel were in, because on the one hand, Shalom sis, yep, it's live. On the one hand, you had people that were already in an established city, right? They were already at home. And then you had those that were still going to war and still trying to figure out their boundaries. So they had to start setting up those cities of refuge, because now, as opposed to just a warframe mindset, it's about a societal mindset. Well, you're going to have instances of accidents. You're going to have instances of manslaughter, as they call it. And so these cities were set up that if someone accidentally killed their neighbor, but they were known to not have a hatred, you couldn't just flee to the city of refuge for any cause. You kill somebody intentionally, and then this is your place to duck down. No, this was only the place that you were allowed to go if you killed your neighbor by accident, but there was still someone hunting you regardless, right? There was still somebody who wanted revenge regardless. So you were given access to come into the city. Once the elders of the city heard the cause, they would yay or nay you at the gate. Nah, it sounds like you and so-and-so had issues. Why are you sitting up here talking about him? You just can't help but mention that he did you wrong back in. It sounds like you might have done that on purpose. Access denied. If the revenger of blood finds you, he's within his right. Or, okay, it sounds like you're having an issue, you're having a problem. Come into the city. They protect you from the avenger of blood, and then you have to wait until basically you have a council, or you have an opportunity for the elders of the city to figure out what was going on. And then they were allowed to live there until the death of the high priest, right? So all praises to the Most High, Israel. This is where we're going to stop it for tonight. Please continue to tune in with our lessons as we continue. We have class Friday, Feed the Sheep, at 7:30 p.m. We'll be having Blue Strip at 5:30 right before that. And then all praises to the Most High at 9:45, Deconstruction, Episode 1. With that, we appreciate you for tuning in, Israel. And we say, Shalom.
If it wasn't for the Most High who was on my side, man, ain't no telling where I'd be.
Mr. Wilson would've known.
Can't nobody tell me nothing different. The Father's been good to me.
So good to me.
Yeah. Wave your hands if you feel me. I'm a witness. Yahweh's been good to me.
So good to me.
Every morning that I rise, I thank Yahweh that I'm living. Keep my enemies at bay and never leave without my fringes. 1611 with me cause I'm on a mission. Talking sheep, I pay the cost, me and my lines really live it. I don't need no glory, you don't have to know my story. Glad I made it out this world cause this world was never for me. I thought